we going? Still says connecting. It's going to be my internet, isn't it? Here we go. We are live. We are indeed. Hello, good morning, leader valuepreneurs and sales shakers. This is your host today's Sales TV. My name is Helga Saraiva Stewart. You know me. But more importantly, I want to introduce you to Rui Quinta. And he's this amazing professional who's going to talk with us and give us some crazy insights that involve radical empathy and design thinking. You're a master who is very, very interesting skills that when adapting to sales, they can help us to do some amazing things. So let's just kick off. Tell us a little bit about you, Rui.
Yeah, so I consider myself a designer. I'm a designer. I think at the beginning of my career, I was designing a lot of beautiful things as a communication designer, visual designer, and then I decided I asked myself a bunch of questions, like if the things I was doing, I was producing, were actually impacting the real world, and if people were actually reacting to the things that I was doing. So I decided to sell my first company at the time and spend a few years studying strategy and focusing more on questions and putting question marks at the beginning of projects, and having a lot of conversations before I actually started designing anything. So I think in that process, I ended up I stopped buying design books and started buying a lot of books from different from other disciplines, like behavioral economics or neurosciences, psychology, and I think that led me also to having a break also of 1 year studying design thinking in Germany in 2011, and I think from there I decided to open a bunch of companies. So I think there's people who consider myself a serial entrepreneur. I don't know how many companies you have to open so that you can be considered a serial entrepreneur, but I've opened a fish shop. I've opened a space experience design studio. I founded With Company, which is basically where I spend 100% of my time today, also building other companies from there.
And if you the audience that you serve and what you do them.
I think the complexity of With Company at the moment is that I think we say this is kind of probably this is wrong. This is something that it's wrong in every business book or every sales book, which is basically the fact that we sell everything to everyone. And this is really, really hard to manage, because you have a company who's doing a lot of branding and organizational design work for institutions and companies and startups and scale-ups, and you are developing projects around systemic thinking or futures thinking, strategy, innovation, and you also have the same pyramid. Like you want to work and you want to do those projects for everybody, and then you have another unit that is focusing on responsible experiences with a focus on digital products and making digital more responsible than it is today. And basically, like, you want to appeal to everybody, but what we are doing is actually defining different hierarchies in terms of targets for each one of these units, of these business units. So it's not that you cannot do something for an institution when you are selling a branding service, for example, but our main focus there is to appeal to a particular audience and a particular target. So it's really difficult to juggle between the different units, the different goals, the different targets in each one of these units, and the channels that you use to communicate and to interact with these people. and the messages that you have to convey have to be different also in these different setups. So meaning that, for example, if you're trying to sell something on social media, you have a particular tone of voice and a particular way of talking about things, and you can be a little bit more complex when you explain and what you have to sell, and when you position yourself in that way. But then you have, one-to-one meeting with a client where you can, just simplify your language, and you can just translate everything into a more kind of open conversation and simple conversation in that one-to-one. But I don't know if this answers your question, but I can try to go a little bit deep. Elge, I think we cannot hear you now. I think the microphone is not working at the moment. So if you want to write it, I can just
I was muted. I apologize. There's a little bit of
okay.
a distance between my pressing the mute and it actually going in. So I'll just want to take it off on mute. It feels so. I would love to just, if you think about one of your ideal customers, right? One of your ideal customers who are this entity that is trying to do what, and what do you help them to achieve? What problems do you fix for this entity, and who
Yeah,
are
so
they?
let's imagine that, like, again, like, because we do so many services, we have to kind of cluster them and try to define priorities for each one of them. But I can give like an example. For example, when working with a corporate client on a organizational design project, right? So they have a cultural issue internally, and the way we address that, it has been um, I think in a way it has been successful for us, because we define that we want to position ourselves in a particular topic, and we want to become experts in a particular topic, and we want to develop even ourselves and our team in a particular topic. So what we do is that we study a lot about that topic, and we start realizing projects, and investing in those projects. So basically, the way I think I can even start by telling you the story of how With Company was born. Like, we invested in in our first project. So me and my partner, we decided to do a project around the topic of organizational design and business design, and we spent 3 months working so that we can have a use case, so that we can have this business case that we can show to the world how it works, right? So instead of us just saying it's going to work, this is the process, we're going to do this and this and this and this, our sales pitch actually for almost 10 years, and it's not different from a public appearance on a stage in a conference where you actually explain what you did with the client and for the client. So basically what we did was that, like, we invested our time in helping a company that was in really, really bad shape in 2012, and we documented the whole project from the beginning to the end. So we filmed us, talking about the project. We took photos of the project. We wrote everything we knew about the client and all of the insights we were discovering, and we actually documented the whole thing. We've placed that information on a blog that we can still see. It's so naive, like looking at yourself in 2012 saying these things and doing these things. But actually, like, we transformed that document, that documentation of that project into a sales pitch. So it's a presentation, it's a keynote where you actually explain how to go from the beginning to the end, how to bring value to the client, what you did in the research stage, what you did while synthesizing, which were the ideas that you generated for the project. And of course, you show the line, like the health line of the company going down for about 10 years, and then we enter the project, and then we were able to help them in about the 3 months project, and the 6 months after the project was concluded, like they really turned around in terms of health for their people and for the company, financial health. So it was
Of
a
performance and
success
health.
case, I think, that we use as a sales pitch. Another strategy that I can share with you, Elga, is that
I find,
go whenever we
go
want to
ahead.
dig into a topic, like um, we use as a way of learning for ourselves and also to add value to the clients. Like we do a program, like we design a program of 2 or 3 days around a certain topic. We dig a lot into that topic, and we bring clients in to talk about that topic. So we design like a training program, for example, around the topic of branding. Like if you want to sell branding, like we know a lot about that because we've been doing it for, I don't know, 20 years, since the beginning of my career, and also a lot of people with company who have a lot of experience in doing branding. So we design a program around the topic of branding as a way to get people in and to get people to understand that we are talking about that, and we are sharing our experience about that. We have proprietary models when working with these different disciplines and different topics. So it's not that we are kind of copying everything that it's out there, but we really try to be original. We really try to be proprietary when we design something and when we bring people in so that they can feel the difference.
And so, I mean, I imagine quite a few people listening. And if that's you, let us know, and let us know if you have questions here. That it feels like a different way of generating leads. It feels like it's very much based on proof of concept, being able to show and demonstrate an ability to achieve a certain result and a certain outcome, and prove and validate that you have in-house the skills and differentiation to be able to help that company to achieve that result. So it feels like a very smart way of sort of standing out from it, right? Can I just get a little bit into your lead generation? So when you are getting inviting prospects as well, how does the lead generation work for you?
I think I couldn't listen to the whole question, but I will try to address based on what I could get. So first of all, I think we have to do it that way. So generating a case study that we can use to address our potential clients, because we don't have like we don't have the credibility. Like we are a 20 something people company. We've been growing every year, fortunately, but it's not like and we are running against big players, who have like big consultancies that we run against in a lot of potential clients and potential projects. So it's a way to stand out, is showing our ability to actually do things, our ability to change things around us. And by having these case studies, I think it's the way that we have to stand out, because we don't have the legacy, we don't have the credibility that these companies have, so we have to show work. And I think going a little bit also to this story, and I think at the beginning clients would hire us because of that, because they wanted to understand how we worked, the process. It's not that they only wanted the product of the project, the output of the project, but they wanted to understand how we worked, and they wanted their teams to work like us. So they wanted kind of a model on how to produce outstanding design work. And I think that was one of the criteria that made clients come to us. And I think, even if it sounds a little bit pedantic today, I think it's not only about how we work, but what we think about. It's about the impact that you want to generate in the world, that you want to provoke. the good things that you want to happen around you. It's about being critical with a lot of the things that are happening in the world, and finding ways to actually solve some of these externalities that were created in the last decades. So, and I
Uh-huh.
think clients today, they are coming to us not only because of the process and because of the, how we work, but how we think about the future, and how we apply what we know in order to build, like a more. I think we talk a lot about earthly optimism. I think there's a certain in I don't know, like a certain poetry also in those two words together. Um,
Wow. And can you still hear me? I'm sorry, my
yes,
my
yeah, yeah,
camera seems to have gone
yeah.
AWOL. But I first heard of the term futures thinking through you. And I would love to know, so you talk about not just futures thinking, but responsible experience design. And I'd love you to just sort of expand on that and how you feel it helps businesses to anticipate clients' needs.
Yes, I think it's interesting because it's like, for me, this conversation is a little bit meta. Like, it's difficult to have this conversation because, like, I think we apply systemic thinking. We bring a lot of complexity into our conversations, into the frameworks that we use when analyzing businesses. But it's interesting that in the end, everything that you do, it's not everything, but for a lot of, at least, corporate clients, like, the impact you want to have for them is also to help them sell more of their products. What we try to do in parallel with that is also how to make them sell better products that are not harming as
Mm,
much, that are not being so extractive as most of the products that have been developed in the last decades have been, because we've learned
mm,
so well on how to turn people around. Like, we learned so well how to hack our own brains, that we actually can sell people anything and anything we want, because we know too much about them. We know too much about behavioral economics. We know too much about behavior in general. We know too much about neurosciences, that we can actually hack people in understanding what they want. And I think the balance that we try to do when we talk about sales, and when we when we bring this topic, and when we are doing any strategy work, it's actually not only to help them sell more, but to sell better products. It's redefining their strategy in
wow.
terms of sustainability. It's redefining their strategy in terms of energy. Like, for example, when we talk about responsible experience design, it's actually Sophia from our team who's leading that unit. She's a master in understanding, how to simplify an experience in the digital context, but also how to be more responsible in knowing, in understanding what we can do with what we know about behavior and what we know about people. And we could actually, instead of extracting more in terms of behavior that will lead people to be more depressed, to be more addicted to some app, or to something. It's actually trying to turn things around and make it more pleasant and make it more responsible in that way.
Wow.
So I think I don't know if we bring other words into this conversation, but it's not that we are not helping our clients sell more. This is, come on, we know about, how the economy works, and we know how the world works. But at the same time, you have to bring a layer of responsibility. You have to bring a layer that considers all the externalities of the work that we do, and all of the decisions that we take when we are doing work for any company.
Wow. You see, I mean, I hope, sorry to everybody listening. My camera, as you can see, has just gone haywire, but it really is not about me today. It's about Hui. And you can see why. I mean, I don't know how many of you are kind of listening and thinking about futures thinking, responsible selling, selling better products. How do we listen to customers and anticipate their needs in order to provide experiences that really help us to stand out, but it helps our customers to also understand and feel like they're doing better, and they're contributing to a better future and a better planet. Um, does radical empathy have a role in building this trust and these long-term relationships, Rui?
Yeah, sure. And it's interesting. I think there's also like two levels that we can bring to the conversation when talking about radical empathy. I think the first one is how we bring that to the projects, and now we are obsessed with empathy. I know that empathy is a overused word in the last in the last decades. Also, like I think everyone talks about empathy. I think Elga just left the conversation, but she
No, no,
told
I'm
me,
here.
I know you're
No,
there.
I'm
Oh,
here.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
I
okay, cool,
just
cool,
I
cool.
just maximized your screen because
Okay, cool, cool, cool. I was
it's
just like,
just
oh,
better
I'm
to.
here alone. I'm gonna have to improvise,
No, no, no.
you know.
I'm
And I
here.
was
I'm
saying, like,
sorry.
you told me, like, if something happens, just keep going. And I was going there. I was
No,
going there.
I'm having real
Yeah,
issues with this camera, so I just
yeah,
thought
it's
rather
okay.
than
Don't
look at
worry.
a black screen, look at you
I
better.
understand. Yeah, I told you I was once a musician and I had a lot of technical issues, so it's difficult to to deal with that. And
Improvise.
you're doing a great job. So
Oh
let's
man,
move
I
on with
think
the
you're doing an
conversation.
amazing job. Thank you, Rui, for your being understanding, and thank you guys at home for being understanding with these screen issues. Please carry on.
Yeah, so radical empathy, I think there's like two possible ways of talking about this. So one is like the way we bring that uh, like honestly and truly to the projects we do. So I can give you a bunch of examples on how to understand your customer and how to understand your client. And it's really like when people say, empathy is the ability to put yourself on someone else's shoes. It's really easy to say that, but it's not that easy to do that because it's
It's so
impossible.
true.
It's impossible to empathy. The word empathy is an impossible word. It's an impossible word because you
Mm,
cannot be the other person. um, uh, but you can really really try to be close to what other people are feeling. For example, if you are working in a product or in a project for elderly people, like there's ways for you to try to feel what an elderly person feels when they're 90 years old and they have a vision that it's not 100% like working 100% like the vision I have at this moment,
sure.
or they are not moving in the world with the dexterity, I don't know how to say this word in English, but with the
Dexterity.
dexterity that you navigate your own world. So there's
Mm,
ways for you to try to be closer to the people you are working with or addressing. And I think we bring that. I can give you, like, this is a funny one because we were working with one of the biggest retailers in Portugal. Actually, they have also a lot of supermarkets in Colombia and Poland. And we were redesigning the takeaway experience. So we were hired
okay.
to design the takeaway experience for this big like supermarket called Pingo Doce. And our team spent 3 months eating all of the food that you can imagine that we ordered every day from the competition, from our own client, from stores that were on the streets in local markets. So while trying to understand how people choose the food that they're
Mm-hmm.
going to eat, how they navigate the supermarket when so that they can get to the takeaway stand,
Uh-huh.
how they you
Wow.
know how they eat the food at home or at work and then place the packaging on the garbage. Like, we had to understand the experience, and for us to understand the experience and for understand how people take these decisions, like, we went through the experience of eating takeaway food for 3 months. Like, we gained an average
Wow.
of 2 kilos per person. Like, each person gained weight
Wow.
during this process. So, like, you change your own body in order to understand the problem and to understand what you're trying
Wow.
to solve, and to in this case to design a better service for and better products also for the audience. I think this is one thing that we can say, is that, like, using a lot of these examples that we bring to the reality of the projects, and we bring ourselves to try to be closer to the people who actually go through these things. Another way of talking about radical
Wow.
empathy, I think it's the fact that we we build other companies from with companies. So my company is called With Company. We work with
Mm-hmm.
people, not for them, but we work with them, and
Mm-hmm.
we have a lot of spin-offs. And as entrepreneurs, we've built other businesses. I had a fish shop. I was running a fish shop and a chain of fish shops. Like, we had four fish shops in Lisbon for
Wow.
around 9 months. And I say that, having that business allows me to understand what other types of businesses
Mm.
feel. How does it feel to
Yeah.
have an open door, and bringing clients in? I know how to talk about these things, because this is also radical empathy, because we use our own businesses, we use our own spin-offs to really try, to fail, and to understand, and to know about how to run a business, that it's different from a consultancy. It's different from a
Wow. It's
from
so true.
forms of design consultancy that we are managing. So we have launched several spin-offs, and I think the most interesting one, maybe it's this crazy fish
We're
shop.
gonna, I'm gonna ask you to share that example mega quick. I can't believe 26 minutes have gone past, Rui. I cannot believe that. Go on, share it quickly with us. Give us the story in 30 seconds.
No, yeah, I think it was. Come on, it's also something that was inspired by more than 100 years family business. It comes from inspiration with my family, but we decided, and we did the first project we did actually was trying to help a company that was my family company, and it worked pretty well. And from there, I think we felt inspired, to redesign, the experience of a fish shop, what it means to open a fish shop after almost all of the fish shops disappeared from the center of Lisbon. We have the culture
Wow.
of fish in Portugal, and we just redesigned the whole experience of a fish shop, and we opened the fish shop a long time ago, and we were
Wow.
running that business and learning how to run a business that it's totally different, again, from running a design consultancy.
Wow. So let me just sum this up. Radical empathy. I swear, I like right now I have a completely different perspective about that, and I definitely want to see how I can apply it in my life. Futures thinking, responsible experience design. If you out there listening didn't think that these types of concepts, and clearly not just concepts, but ways of being and doing business and thinking and wanting to collaborate with clients, if you didn't think that that was useful to help you to sell better and build stronger connections and relationships with your customers, Rui Quinta is your man. Please connect with him on LinkedIn. Check him out. Rui, do you remember your days when you say you were a musician, was it?
Yeah. That was
Okay.
fun.
So here's what I'm going to ask you to do now. I'm going to ask you to take us right to the end because you're there with the camera and I trust you loads. From me, I want to send a big, 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 big warm hug to everybody out there listening. Please take us away and kick off the show to the end.
Yeah, I would just I take one of the sentences you said. You just said ways of being, and I thought, wow, it's beautiful what you said. And at the same time, it's the name of a book, of a recent book by James Brittle. So go
Right?
and buy it because it's beautiful and it's going to change the way you relate yourself with the planet and with the world.
I
So
love
go and
that.
buy Ways of Being. I'm promoting a book. So thanks
I
for the
love that.
invitation, Elga. It was beautiful. Thanks for the
Take us
invitation.
away. Thank you so much for enduring these technical issues. You're an absolute trooper, and I can't wait to speak with you again soon. Thank you again. Cheerio. See you soon.
Thank you.